Good evening and welcome to the Connecticut Department of Transportation's public information meeting for several projects in the town of Southbury. The first four projects we will discuss tonight are for the rehabilitation of bridge number 07042 through bridge number 07045. These four structures carry I-84 over various brooks. The final project is for the replacement of bridge number 07051, Route 6 and 67 over South Branch Bullet Hill Brook. My name is Susan Morneau, and I'm a project engineer with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. I would like to welcome everyone who's taken the time to tune in for tonight's presentation. We hope this will be informative and we are able to answer all your questions and concerns so that by the time we are done, you will have a better understanding of our projects. Before I get into the presentation and introduce the project team, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items and explain tonight's format. Our presentation will last approximately 20 minutes, and once it's completed, we will host a live question and answer session. A recording of tonight's entire presentation, including the Q&A session, will be stored on the project webpage. The webpage can be found at portal.ct.gov/DOT project 130-186 through 190. Again, that's portal.ct.gov/DOT PROJECT 130-186 Closed captioning, including non-English translations, will be available at that time. You will have three means of communicating with us during the live Q&A session. You can send an email, leave a voicemail, or chat with us using the Zoom Q&A feature. I will go over these in more detail on the next slide. As I mentioned, there will be three means of communicating with the project team. The first is by sending an email to the project email address, which is DOTPROJECT 130-186 The second is by leaving a voicemail at 860-594-2020. Please note that we will be checking for emails and voicemails periodically during the presentation so that we can address your comments and answer your questions. Please also remember to leave contact information if you leave a voicemail so that we may reach out to you directly if for some reason we can't get back to you during the live question and answer session. You can ask questions or provide comments through April 18, 2023 via either email or telephone. I will go over the third option, the Zoom chat function, next. This function is only available during tonight's live Q&A session. To ask a question or make a comment using the Zoom Q&A feature, click on the Q&A tool at the bottom of the Zoom webinar window. This will bring up the Zoom Q&A chat window. This is shown on the right of the slide. Type your question in the text box at the bottom. And once you start typing, you will have the option to check a box at the bottom to post your question anonymously if you prefer. Once you have finished typing, you can hit send and the project team will then see your question. On the screen, you will see your question and any other questions that have been answered. Please note that even though you won't see them yet, the project team may have other questions to respond to and will respond to all questions in the order they are received. If you are an audio-only participant, dial *9 to raise and lower your hand. I would now like to introduce the project team. With the Connecticut Department of Transportation, we have Bart Sweeney, Division Chief of Bridges. His photo is the first on the upper left of your screen. To the right of him is Derek Lassard, Principal Engineer for the Consultant Bridge Design Consultant Liaison Engineering Program. Next is Alvaro Garcia Jr., Supervising Engineer in the CLE program. To my right is Matt Janikopoulos, the Right-of-Way Coordinator from the Office of Right-of-Way. He will speak a little later and provide an overview of the procedures followed by the department for right-of-way impacts to properties affected by this project. BL Companies is the consultant liaison engineer on this project and will work with the Connecticut Department of Transportation to administer the project. The first photo on the upper left is Jennifer Usher. Jennifer is the program manager for BL, and she will be the MC for the Q&A session of tonight's presentation. Dave Chicha is the principal engineer for BL, and he is to the right of Jennifer. The first photo on the second row is Stephanie Maurer, a senior engineer from BL Companies. Stephanie will describe the rehabilitation of bridge number 07042 through bridge number 07045. Next is Mike Woods, a project manager from BL Companies. Mike will discuss the replacement of bridge number 07051, routes 6 and 67 over South Branch Bullet Hill Brook. The designer for the project is Prime AE Group. The Connecticut Department of Transportation, CTDOT, operates its programs and services without regard to race, color, and national origin in accordance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Any person who believes she or he has been aggrieved by any unlawful discriminatory practice under the Title VI may file a complaint with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. For more information on CTDOT's Civil Rights Program and the procedures to file a complaint, contact the CTDOT Title VI Coordinator at 860-594-2169, TRS 711, Deborah Goss at ct.gov, or visit our administrative office at 2800 Berlin Turnpike, Newington, Connecticut. For more information, visit www.ct.gov/DOT. A complainant may file a complaint directly with the Federal Transit Administration by filing a complaint with the FTA Office of Civil Rights. Attention, Title VI Program Coordinator, East Building, 5th floor, TCR, 1200 New Jersey Ave, Southeast, Washington, D.C. 20590. A complainant may file a complaint directly with the Federal Highway Administration by filing a complaint with the FHWA Office of Civil Rights. Attention, Title VI Program Coordinator, 8th floor, E81-105, 1200 New Jersey Ave, Southeast, Washington, D.C. 20590. A post-meeting survey is available at portal.ct.gov/CTDOT survey. The results of this survey will help us improve these public meetings going forward. We would appreciate it if you would take the time to complete the survey after tonight's presentation. The Civil Rights Notice to the public is available at portal.ct.gov/business/office-of-title-6-PAGE. The links to both the Civil Rights Flyer and the survey are also located on the previously mentioned project webpage. I would also like to remind you that a recording of this presentation will be available on YouTube and closed captioning will be available both on Zoom and YouTube. Thank you for bearing with me while I went over the ground rules. I will now turn things over to Stephanie Maurer from BL Companies, who will begin the actual presentation part of this evening's program.
Thank you, Sue. Good evening, everyone. Before you are the 5 projects that we'll be discussing tonight. You see that each state project number begins with 130. This refers to the town of Southbury. First, we have projects 130-186 through 189. These 4 projects will be bridge rehabilitations conveying these named brooks beneath the Interstate 84. The final project, 130-190, is a replacement beneath Route 6 and 67 at the intersection of the I-84 eastbound ramps. Each project also has a bridge number. We use both when referring to the project. We'll go through each of these projects individually tonight. If you are present because you may have questions about a project near your home or place of business, please keep the project or bridge number in mind for the question and answer period at the end of the presentation. We've provided this slide to help you get your bearings along the I-84 corridor. We'll start with bridge number 7042, and it is placed along Bullet Hill Brook. You'll see that Bullet Hill Brook is a circuitous brook that kind of goes underneath I-84 and then back through the eastbound lanes and then the westbound lanes. Bridge number 7042 refers to only the portion that traverses the I-84 westbound lanes in this location. Next, you'll see bridge 7043 just upstream of that, and it crosses only the I-84 eastbound lanes. Next, we have bridge number 7044. This brings Oliver Brook across both lanes of I-84. And now we have bridge number 7045. This conveys Sam's Brook beneath I-84, both lanes, both directions. And lastly, we have bridge number 7051. This is the bridge that crosses beneath the intersection of Route 6 and 67 and the I-84 eastbound ramps. During the course of this presentation, you may hear us use terms that aren't necessarily familiar to you. So I'd like to introduce you to them before moving on. You've heard me referring to bridges because the Department of Transportation considers all culverts over 6 feet in diameter a bridge. A culvert is essentially a large pipe. Each of our projects tonight are culverts. In this figure, you can see the pipe beneath the roadway, supported at the outlet by an end wall or a wall that's built to surround the pipe. And there's also a head wall at the inlet, which you can't see. And each have wing walls, which support the embankment surrounding the pipe. You will hear us referring to the invert. This is what we call the lowest point of the pipe, or the flow line, referring to where the smallest amount of water flows within the pipe. All 5 of our bridges today were built in 1961 with asphalt-coated corrugated metal pipes. The first 4 are beneath Interstate 84, which has an average daily traffic of approximately 72,000 vehicles per day. These bridges range in diameter from just over 6 feet to 10 feet, with lengths ranging about 130 to 325 feet. The bridges are supported on each end by either concrete cradles and collars or head walls and wing walls. A concrete cradle can be seen in the lower left corner. It's basically a large block of concrete that is set in the earth and the pipe sits on top of it. This type of supporting structure is accompanied by a concrete collar, as seen in the center right photograph. The pipe itself is cut back along the slope, and that's also called a mitered edge. The concrete is poured around it to stabilize the earth around the pipe. The head wall, end wall, or wing wall type of structure is shown in the upper left-hand corner. Each of these structures are beneath approximately 8 to 30 feet of fill. The purpose and need for these projects is essentially to address the structural condition of the pipe. The state performs biannual inspections on all bridges in the state and rates each component of the structure on a 0 to 9 rating scale. 0 being that the bridge has failed and 9 being the bridge is brand new. Our ratings here range between 3 and 5, where 3 is a serious condition, 4 is poor condition, and 5 is fair. For relevance, generally a brand new bridge that we would see will bring the structure up to a rating of a 7 or an 8 once we rehabilitate it. So here we address the invert deterioration that is due to rust and abrasion with voids beneath the structure. You can see that in the middle left picture. We also have cracking and separation of the supporting structures. You can see that on the top left for the cracking within the wing wall and head wall. And then on the bottom right, you can see that the concrete cradle and collar has separated from the structure. We also have perched outlets out there with these bridges. You can see that in the lower left picture. Basically, the water scours or washes away the soil at the outlet around the supports, essentially causing a waterfall effect. This continues to erode the earth below the structure, and that's called undermining. Sometimes we see a loss of backfill, which is the soil around the pipe or behind the structure, and it seeps through these perforations, and this can cause pipe deformities. Each of these projects have similar deterioration and will be rehabilitated in a similar manner. Shown on this slide is examples of what each type of supporting structure that I just went through looks like. This is called an elevation view, and it represents the structure as though you were standing directly in front of it. So to the left, we have the concrete collar and cradle, where the pipe rests on the concrete support, has a mitered edge to the slope, and then the concrete surround. This represents 3 out of 5 of our existing structures that we're going over tonight. And we'll be updating these to the structure on the right. On the right, we have the end wall with the wing walls, also described earlier. Currently, there are 2 of our structures that do have these types of supporting structures out there. This view shows the culvert liner as well. You can see the dashed line circle that is basically on the inside of the yellow. And I'll go ahead and explain that next. You can also see the baffles at the bottom of the pipe in orange, and they will be installed in 2 of these bridges to aid in fish passage during periods of low flow within the brook. So our liner does create a new structure. As I stated earlier, it brings the rating back to a 7. We are anticipating aluminum pipes, but that may change as we are in preliminary design. And lastly, at the top of the page, you can see the guide rail portion. A portion of that will be removed for access at the entry point of construction, but it will remain in place above the bridge itself. For the next several slides, I'll walk you through the process of rehabilitating a culvert. This does not represent any single bridge tonight, but it will act as a conglomerate of the different parts that may be part of one project or another. Essentially just kind of trying to walk you through what might be out there. We'll begin with the existing longitudinal section. Essentially, we are cutting through I-84 perpendicular to the travel direction. So again, this is what our existing bridge would look like. So we would begin by cleaning the pipe itself and filling any voids around and beneath the pipe. Slip lining the structure is what we'll do, essentially inserting a smaller pipe within the larger pipe, connecting it piece by piece. Once that is finished, we would fill the annular space or the space between the smaller pipe and the larger pipe with controlled low strength material. Some of our projects do have concrete lined channels at the entrance, and we will be looking to remove that channel essentially to aid in fish passage. It does exist for 2 out of 5 of our structures. And then we would construct the new head wall and wing wall. Once that is complete, we would restore the channel with boulders and natural stream bed material. Next, we would look to construct the new end wall and wing wall. You can see that now bright orange to the left. And then lastly, for some of these projects, we will be installing a concrete fishway. Essentially, that acts as a fish ladder to also aid in fish passage. We'll be doing that for 2 out of 5 of our structures tonight. As you can see, the work is done from below and is not anticipated to affect mainline traffic on I-84 during peak hours. And next, I will take you through each individual project. To start with, we have state project number 130-186. This is bridge number 7042. It's Interstate 84 westbound over Bullet Hill Brook. So the aerial image that you see on your left screen, you can see I-84 bisecting the image diagonally, and Bullet Hill Brook is shown with the teal blue patterned line, and it is flowing from east to west. It's about halfway, this bridge is about halfway between exits 15 and 16. As you can see in the top right, this bridge does have the traditional end wall, wing wall, and it has a perched outlet. In the lower right, you can see that it is also, the entrance is lined with a paved channel that we'll be removing for this bridge. For this image, you can see I-84 westbound is running from left to right through the center of the image with the eastbound lanes at the bottom. We'll be looking to, like I said, remove the concrete at the entrance to the structure, slip line the existing 108-inch pipe with a 90-inch liner. And for this one, we will be repairing the inlet structure and replacing the outlet structure and adding a fishway. The fishway does require a permanent easement outlined in red for construction and maintenance of the fishway. The department will coordinate directly with the property owner. You can see here, we have 2 access roads. Downstream, it is a darker brown color, is to remain permanent for maintenance. The grading will be reestablished upon completion of the construction for the upstream access road because it is temporary. As I stated before, during construction, a portion of the guide rail will be removed and temporary traffic barriers will be in place. Temporary off-peak lane shifts may be needed for site access. We do not anticipate any utility impacts for this project. There are 3 Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection permits. I will refer to the agency as Connecticut DEEP or just DEEP moving forward in this presentation. These permits are individual inland wetlands, stormwater discharge, and the pre-construction notification. The pre-construction notification for the United States Army Corps of Engineers is necessary as well, and I will refer to them as U.S. Army Corps on future slides. As noted in the previous slide, there will be 1 permanent easement for the concrete fishway installation and maintenance. For this project, we carry an opinion of probable cost as approximately $2.8 million. It is currently 100% state funded, and construction is anticipated to begin in the spring of 2026. Next, we have state project number 130-187. This is bridge number 7043, Interstate 84 eastbound over Bullet Hill Brook. Again, you can see the same image here with I-84 running diagonally across your screen, and Bullet Hill Brook is in teal, flowing from east to west. At the top right, you can see the image, which is again the traditional end wall, wing wall. And for this structure, we are looking to complete repairs. They're in fairly good shape. And at the bottom, you can see that we have a small perched outlet. Again, I-84 runs left to right through the center of the image. And as I stated previously, we are looking to repair the support structures. We will slip line this one as well with, this one's an arch. So the existing 112-inch by 75-inch arch will be lined with a 79-inch by 68-inch liner. Then we will look to install rock weirs to aid in fish passage because the perch doesn't warrant a fishway, but it still needs to allow fish to pass. You can see in the bottom portion of your screen, again, we will have a right-of-way impact, which is, for this case, a temporary easement. It's for grading to restore the embankment and maintain the flow pattern of the brook. We again have 2 access roads. Downstream will remain for maintenance, and the upstream access road will be temporary. Again, during construction, a portion of the guide rail will be removed and temporary traffic barriers will be in place. And again, we have off-peak lane shifts that may be needed for site access. We do not have any anticipated utility impacts. We are again looking at deep permits, individual inland wetlands, pre-construction notification, and the U.S. Army Corps pre-construction notification as well. As stated previously, we do have one single right-of-way impact. It is a temporary construction easement. The anticipated probable cost for the structure is approximately $2.2 million. Currently, it is 90% federally funded and 10% state funded. Construction is anticipated to begin in spring of 2026. Next, we have state project number 130-188, bridge number 7044. This is Interstate 84 over Oliver Brook. Bridge 7044 conveys Oliver Brook beneath 84 near Peter Road and the Rochambeau School. At the top right, you can see this one has a cradle support and a significantly perched outlet. The picture on the lower right shows a concrete drainage channel alongside the highway that has been washed out and is no longer functioning as it should. Again, I-84 runs through the center of the image. And for this bridge, we are looking to repair the support structure at the inlet and install a trash rack. We will be slip lining the pipe, replacing the structure at the outlet, and adding a concrete fishway. The liner size is going to be a 108-inch liner inside of a 120-inch pipe. We are looking to reroute the damaged concrete swale and rehabilitate it using riprap or large rocks to slow the water. And the concrete fishway will require 2 permanent easements for construction and maintenance. 2 permanent access roads will be constructed along the shoulders of I-84 and will remain for future maintenance. During construction, a portion of the guide rail will be removed and temporary traffic barriers in place. And again, we will have off-peak lane shifts possible for site access. We do not have anticipated utility impacts for this location. We do also have the anticipated environmental permits, which are the Connecticut Deep Individual Inland Wetlands Permit and pre-construction notification, with the U.S. Army Corps pre-construction notification as well. As stated, we have 2 right-of-way impacts, permanent easements for the concrete fishway for installation and maintenance. The anticipated opinion of probable cost is just under $3 million, currently 90% federal funded and 10% state funded. Construction is anticipated to begin in spring of 2026. Next, we have State Project 130-189. This is bridge number 7045, Interstate 84 over Sam's Brook. As you can see, it runs diagonally in the image, the aerial image, at exit 14 between the on-ramp and off-ramp of the eastbound lanes. And for this one, it also has the concrete inlet that will be removed. Here might be a better image of this structure. We are looking to slip line this structure as well. We have an existing 84-inch pipe that we will be lining with a 66-inch liner. This structure does have the concrete collar and cradle, and we will be replacing these structures with the end wall, head wall, and loom walls. We may need to reroute the bituminous swales that come into the inlet, depending upon the placement of this structure. We are looking to have 2 access roads. The downstream access road will remain for maintenance, and the upstream access road will be temporary. And again, during construction, a portion of guide rail will be removed along the on-ramp, and temporary traffic barriers will be in place. Ramp lane shifts and shoulder closures are anticipated for site access. Again, for this site, we do not have anticipated utility impacts. The environmental permits we'll be looking to get is the Connecticut Deep Individual Inland Wetlands Permits and the Stormwater Discharge Permit and the pre-construction notification. And again, the U.S. Army Corps pre-construction notification. We do not have any rights of way impacts anticipated for this project. Our opinion of probable cost is approximately $2.3 million, currently 90% federally funded and 10% state funded. Construction is anticipated to begin in spring of 2026. And now I will hand the presentation over to Mike Woods with BL Companies to share the details for project 130-190.
Cool. Thank you, Stephanie. All right, we are on culvert number 5 here. Appreciate everyone bearing with us as we go through a lot of information here and a lot of projects. So our 5th project tonight is project 130-190. It's bridge 7051, which carries Route 6 and 67 over the south branch of the Bullet Hill Brook. Shown here in the aerial image, this structure crosses diagonally through the intersection of the exit 15 on and off ramps and Route 6 and 67. It traverses almost perfectly diagonally through this intersection, so makes it a fairly unique site for this project. The existing structure is approximately a 9-foot wide by 6-foot tall. Like all our other structures, asphalt coated corrugated metal pipe. This one is an arch, so that's why we have the height and width varying dimensions. For this project, we are actually doing a full replacement. This project is differing from the other 4 we just presented, and we are totally removing the existing structure and going back in with a 12-foot wide by 5-foot high box culvert. The length of the new box culvert will be approximately the same as the existing structure, about 170 feet. Shown in the images here in orange, that is our new structure. Depicted in yellow are the limits of full depth roadway reconstruction, and depicted in gray in the hash is the limits of mill-in overlay, basically cleaning up the pavement structure out there. The existing structure is fairly shallow out here. Again, unlike the prior 4 projects that Stephanie just went through, we're beneath about 18 to 30 inches of material. So again, unlike the prior 4, we do not need access roads to get down and work on this project. It is shallow enough that we basically can get off the roadway and work on these bridges, or on this bridge, excuse me. As part of this project, we do have a replacement of slight modification of our drainage system. The light blue line, or I should say, excuse me, the thin blue line that crosses over the existing structure in the image here is the existing drainage. We will be relocating that during the replacement of the bridge and have it outlet to the northeast. You can see the thin orange line that extends to an existing catch basin that will also be replaced as part of this project. Just in this image to the right or to the east of the I-84 eastbound on-ramp. Moving on, we'll talk about the staging for this project. The department is utilizing accelerated bridge construction techniques. Primarily, that means we're trying to build this as quickly as we can while disturbing or impacting the traveling public as little as possible. So the proposed structure is a precast concrete box culvert. The culvert will be essentially built in small sections off-site, and they will deliver them to site in about 5-foot sections, and then during construction they lift them off of the truck and place in and connect them essentially like a Lego set. Again, utilizing accelerated construction techniques, we will utilize precast wing walls at the inlet here. Again, the orange outline is the proposed structure. The approach that we're taking for construction out here is utilizing, 2 stages. Each stage will utilize a long weekend, starting after the Thursday evening commute or peak period, and extending through to Monday morning and opening up traffic prior to the AM commute. Shown here is the approximate layout of the traffic pattern out there. Currently for Route 667 eastbound, we have 2 through lanes and 2 turning lanes. We will be reducing the lanes out there to have 1 through lane and 1 left turning lane onto the I-84 eastbound on-ramp. And then that Route 6 eastbound through lane will also cross over to the other side of Route 6. Again, kind of shown here, illustrated here in this image. And this will allow for construction of the southern half of the proposed structure. We'll be able to make it, again, shown here in the image, through to the median area, and allow us to get half of that constructed in that first long weekend. The signal timing out there will also be adjusted to correctly reflect the queues out there, the amount of traffic that gets filled up, to help move traffic through the work area as quickly and safely as possible. Moving to stage 2, we will essentially be doing the opposite of what we did in stage 1, with, I would say, one major exception. As you could probably assume out here, with the way that the proposed structure crosses in front of the I-84 eastbound on-ramp, we are not able to maintain that left turn traffic movement. So the Route 6 eastbound to I-84 eastbound on-ramp turn will not be allowed during this stage 2 long weekend, and that traffic will be detoured. I will show you that on the next slide, but before getting to that, we'll also talk about Route 667 westbound. That traffic will be shifted to the eastbound side of 6 and 67. I apologize, I keep saying these routes over and over again. But again, this is to move traffic through the site, but then allows us to construct the second half of the culvert out here. Moving on to our detour slide. This will be the posted detour for passenger vehicle traffic. So when you get to the intersection for the exit 15 on ramp, you will have advance warning, but you'll know that option isn't available, and we'll have detour signs posted for you to continue down 67 to the intersection of 188. We'll take a left on 188, head north, and then get on to I-84 at exit 16. This detour is approximately 4.8 miles, but it does advance you along I-84, so it really adds only a couple miles to your total trip. One of the issues that we have with this posted route is the tight left turn from 67 to 188. So in addition to this detour, we will also be posting a truck detour. So moving on to the next slide is our posted truck detour, which will utilize the exit 15 on-ramp onto I-84 westbound. Trucks will then take I-84 to exit 14, get off there, and then get back onto I-84 eastbound, and then continue off to their final destination. This is the simplest route for trucks to get around the site while maintaining state roads, and this is why we'll be posting this route for trucks. we'll have advance warning out there. At least 2 weeks prior to construction, we'll alert motorists that the detours will be implemented, and just make sure everyone that's in the area is aware of what's going on, so that we have as few headaches as possible during construction, and then hopefully people can avoid the area during construction as well. So moving on, talking about utilities at our site here. We do have aerial, electric, and telecommunication along the southern side of the site. We also do have underground utilities. Unfortunately, at our site, makes construction a little bit more complicated, but we do have an existing water main that is along the north side. We have an electric duct bank along the south side, and we also have a telecommunication duct bank that is along the north side of Route 667. All of these facilities will be maintained during construction, and no relocations are expected as part of this project. We do have a couple permits here. We have the Deep Inland Wetland General Permit and the U.S. Army Corps Self-Verification. And then we do not expect to have any rights-of-way impacts as a result of this project. The opinion of probable construction cost for the full replacement of this bridge is approximately $2.3 million. Currently, it's an 80-20 split for federal and state funding, 80 federal funded, 20% state funded. And like the other projects that we discussed today, we expect construction to begin in the spring of 2026. So now I'll be handing the presentation off to Matt Giannakopoulos. I think I did okay pronouncing his name. I was doing my best to pronounce while I was listening to Stephanie. So he'll be taking over from here.
Thanks, Mike. As Mike said, I'm Matt Giannakopoulos. I'm a project coordinator with the department's Division of Rights of Way. So it's our office's responsibility to acquire the property rights that are needed for transportation projects. As Stephanie mentioned during the presentation, some of the projects require the acquisition of some easements. So I'm here tonight just to give a brief rundown of our acquisition process. First, I just want to elaborate a little bit on what we mean by an easement. So an easement is a type of property right that the department acquires when it needs to use a portion of somebody else's property for a specific purpose, but it doesn't need to own it outright. So when we acquire an easement, the actual ownership of the property remains unchanged. Any property rights that end up being required for these projects will be acquired in accordance with Connecticut General Statutes sections 13A-73 and 13A-98E. And whenever there is federal money used in any phase of a project, the department must adhere to what is known as the Uniform Act. Once the project design has progressed to the point where we know exactly what property rights we need and we're ready to begin the right-of-way acquisition process, each affected property owner will receive a letter of intent to acquire from our office, along with a property map which depicts the exact rights to be acquired. At that point, we determine the fair market value of those rights, and we use that to establish an offer of just compensation. That offer gets sent out to the property owner in writing, and a right-of-way agent is available to meet with the owner. They can explain the impacts to their property, go over the details of the project, and explain how the state developed the offer. From that point, the property owner has a reasonable time to consider the offer and enter into negotiations if they so choose. Once an agreement is reached, the state prepares all the necessary paperwork to transfer those property rights. So they'll prepare and record a deed and the property map on the town land records. However, if negotiations reach an impasse, the state may acquire the rights it needs through its power of eminent domain. So what happens in that case is the department files a notice in the local superior court, along with a monetary deposit in the amount of the state's offer of just compensation. Property owner has 6 months from the date of that filing to appeal if they felt that the department's offer was inadequate. Now, whether or not the owner chooses to elects to use their right to appeal, the money that was deposited in the court is available to be withdrawn by the owner at any time. So I know a lot of people, they hear eminent domain and they think that it means the state can just take your property for $1 or no money, but that's not the case. The property owners are entitled to that offer of just compensation, and the state only takes title to the property rights that it needs for the project. So in this case, those easements. I'll be happy to answer any questions on the right-of-way acquisition process when we get to the Q&A, which is about to happen shortly. So to that end, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Jennifer to lead us through the Q&A.
All right. Thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate it. I'd just like to take a moment to thank everyone for attending tonight's presentation. As indicated, we are in the preliminary phase of development. So really the purpose of this meeting is to engage you, the public, in the discussion so that we have an opportunity to answer any questions you may have, as well as address and hear the concerns as well. So with that being said, there are several options for you to submit your questions and comments. If you are joining us through the Zoom live event, you should see that in your webinar chat, and we have the email address there, which is dotprodject130-186THRU190@ct.gov. The second way you can reach us is by phone, and you can dial 860-594-2020 and just leave a voicemail. Please include the project or bridge number in your message. That will help ensure that the message actually gets to us. Just to note, if you have joined us through Zoom, you may utilize the chat function that is provided there. That's probably our preferred method of communication. If you have joined us through the YouTube live channel, you'll have to use the email or the voicemail option to send us any questions or comments you have. And with that, we will start tonight's question and answer session. I will just ask that you be patient with us. We will be certain to answer all questions that are coming through. Just give us a little bit of time to get through them. And with that, it does look like we have our first question. And we're going to, perfect, we're going to actually just bring up that splash slide there just to show you where each of the bridges are and give you an opportunity to get your bearings again. And with that, I am going to see, let's see, the first question is from Joseph Bergerio. I will do my best to pronounce your name correctly. So hopefully I have. And his question is, does the reduction in diameter, meaning the radius of each of the metal culverts, by adding liners limit too drastically the flow capacity of the pipes? Do you have any information concerning the maximum volume amount of these culverts have experienced over their existing lifetime? I am going to turn that question over to Dave Chichia with BL Companies.
Thanks, Jennifer, and good evening. So the first part of that question, I'm going to answer first because it's nice and easy. So every project that starts that has a water course does get a full hydrologic and hydraulic study completed. A part of that hydrologic study is determining the watershed area, which determines the design storm. Once that's selected, we do create a hydraulic model to show that design storm's flow through the existing structure and also through the proposed structure. And if it is too constricted to pass the design flow, or there are other like inundation area increases affecting other properties, then we would not select a liner because of that reduction in flow, and an area would cause an adverse impact. But for all these, we did our full analysis, and each bridge as proposed does still convey our required design flow without any adverse impacts. And now regarding the maximum volume that will be able to flow through, we don't have that information because none of these water courses has a stream gauge. We do look at a check storm event, which is an inflated flow above a design storm, just to ensure that even if there's like more flow coming through here over the years, that is still going to be considered adequate. Beyond that, we don't have any like records of flow information going through these culverts.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much, Dave. Appreciate that. Hopefully that answers Joseph's question. And actually, Mr. Ruggiero has another question that has come in, and he is asking, why is one of the projects 100% state funded and the others are predominantly federally funded? That is a great question. I am going to hand that over to Alvaro Garcia Jr. with the Connecticut Department of Transportation.
Thanks, Jennifer. Can you hear me? Or see me?
Yes, I can hear you, but we can't see you.
Yeah, something's happening with the video. But to answer your question, Joseph, the department has various sources of federal and state funding, all with different amounts allocated per fiscal unit, capital services unit within the Bureau of Finance and Administration that allocates these funds to all of our capital projects. And that can often change throughout the life of the project. In this case, they seem to have selected one of the 6 or 5 projects to be 100% state, while the others are federally funded. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that answer. And let's see. Got another question coming in. Again, this is from Mr. Ruggiero, and he is asking, how long will these modifications last? He notes that the previous ones were for 62 years. And what is the projected lifetime for each of those bridges? That is a fantastic question. I'm going to hand that off to Michael Woods with BL Companies, our structural engineer.
Yeah, another good question. And deservedly so, considering that these culverts were expected to last longer than the 62 years that we're now going in and doing these major rehab work on. But the approach that we take when we do these projects is we try to obtain a 75-year lifespan on them. We're doing a reline, but the reline is essentially creating a whole new structure. The hose pipe is really just there, we'll say for show at this point. When we leave the project, the new relined pipe is going to be the one that supports everything in there. And we base this off of a 75-year life cycle. Some of these buried as deep as they are can often last even longer than that because they don't see the same salt spray that some of our other typical bridge structures see. So these buried structures, particularly the ones under I-84, can last 75 years or longer. And that's what we're projecting for life out here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And let's see, we have another question coming in, and this is from an anonymous attendee, and he or she is asking or noting that they live near bridge number 07051 that's going to be rehabilitated, and they're asking, will the contractor be working at night? And I'm going to hand that off to Stephanie Maurer with BL Companies.
Hi, thank you, Jennifer. So for this particular bridge, we are looking at accelerated bridge construction, as Mike pointed out. And considering we only do have the 2 weekends that we're looking at keeping that closure, we are anticipating having the contractor work at night. We are looking at Thursday night after peak commute hours and working around the clock until early Monday morning before typical commuting times. I do understand that might be inconvenient, but please just try to keep in mind that it is anticipated for 2 weekends only. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And yeah, it looks like we're still getting more questions in. Again, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for their time for joining us this evening. I do want to make note that we do have a voluntary post-meeting survey that is available in the chat. If you are joining us through YouTube, you can find that the survey link by going to our webpage. And if you wouldn't mind just taking a few moments when you do get to that survey, you just have to use the pull down menu to choose this particular project, which is projects 130-186 to 130-190. And in there, you just can answer a couple questions for us. It really does help us kind of refine these presentations, making sure that we're getting the info out to you, that you have an opportunity to voice your questions and concerns. So if you wouldn't mind taking a few minutes, that would be a great help to us. And with that, I'm going to move to our next question. Let's see. This is from Mr. Ruggiero. And actually, he's just saying thanks. Great job on the fish passages work for each of these bridges and culverts. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that. A lot of work and effort has gone into that. And we've been coordinating very closely with the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection basically to reestablish the fish passages where there hadn't been before, or enhance them. So I think that's going to be a great win for all these projects. So appreciate the comment. Let's see. And then we have another question that's come in. This is from an anonymous attendee, and they are asking, when is construction anticipated to start? Will these projects be constructed at the same time, and will it impact I-84 traffic? And I'm going to hand that back to Stephanie Maurer with BL Companies, our lead engineer.
Thank you, Jennifer. So as stated, these projects are anticipated to begin in 2026. However, we are in the preliminary phases of design, and considering that each project might have different permits and obstacles. There's fishways on some of them. It is possible that these projects do kind of come offline and progress at their own rates. Currently, we are anticipating them to begin in 2026 and to be completed in 2026. These projects are maybe completed at the same time, or they may be done in series, and essentially that will depend upon how they complete permits and how they come to their construction timeline. And it also depends on the contractor and how it is bid out. So right now, those are questions that have a lot of different factors that come into play. So I can't state that it is definitely all going to be happening at the same time. And as far as impacting I-84 traffic, we are looking to have minimal impacts, and most definitely keeping anything that we do, as we stated in the presentation, that the lane shifts will take place during off-peak hours.
And Stephanie, if you don't mind, I'll just kind of add to, Stephanie gave a lot of good information there too. And as she pointed out, we're really just still in the preliminary stages of design. So we, the department, may be looking to package some of these bridges together if they can be designed along the same schedule and the permits can be obtained, et cetera. So if that happens, they may be put into construction at the same time. However, the department would coordinate any sort of maintenance and protection of traffic measures to really, as Stephanie pointed out, minimize the impact to traffic. Most of these impacts really won't be to mainline traffic. It's going to be to the shoulders, and a lot of that will be happening even on off-peak times, not when it's busy. So it should be very, very minimal impact to the traveling public. All right, and with that, I have another question that's come in, and this is from Cindy Harrison, and she is asking, if I heard correctly, there will only be 2 weekends that will require the detour for exit 15. So I believe she's referring to project 130-190 or bridge 07051. And I am going to turn that over to Michael Woods with BL Companies.
Yeah, another good question. So the expected construction schedule for that project is to utilize 2 weekends to do the construction. In the first weekend, we will be able to maintain turning movements onto the on-ramp at exit 15 there. So we will be able to avoid a detour, for that stage. It's only for stage 2 where we're actually constructing the culvert essentially in that lane that you would be using to turn onto that on-ramp. That's the stage that we need to detour traffic for. So it'll just be one weekend for that work. And I should emphasize a long weekend, that Thursday evening to first thing Monday morning.
Yeah, exactly what Mike said. Really the whole plan there is to really utilize what we call ABC, or accelerated bridge construction, which is just a really fancy term for get in, get out, really have the least amount of impact to the traveling public, as well as any adjacent property owners. So that will be essentially what the project will kind of abide by. All right. And looks like we've got another question that's come in. And this is from an anonymous attendee saying, has this team presenting tonight met with town representatives to discuss the project? And let's see, should I turn that over to Stephanie? Do you want to take that question, Stephanie, with BL Companies? For just a second to come on. There we go.
I'm sorry, Jennifer. I just wanted to I just wanted to ensure that we let Robert Taylor know that we did get his question for will each project be completed in 2026? And I sort of answered that right alongside of the previous question. And I just want to make sure that he got the answer that he was looking for. And if not, please feel free to pop back in there and let me know.
Perfect. And then while you're on, I'm actually going to just hold you to see if you wouldn't mind answering the latest question we've received, which this person is asking if we have, and I know we have, but if you could just expand on it a little bit, asking if the team presenting tonight has met with town reps to discuss the project. And since you were leading those efforts, I will let you detail those.
Yes, we have been in contact with the town. We actually have gone ahead and presented everything that we have here tonight and coordinated with them. And we will continue to coordinate with them as design progresses. So if there's any questions, further questions, you can reach out to the town or you can reach out to us. They also have all of these, not all of the slides, but they have information and the website and everything available on their website as well.
All right. Sounds good. I just want to give it a few minutes to see if we have any more questions or comments. I will remind everyone that while the live chat is only open for this evening through Zoom, if you think of any questions or have any comments that come to mind following this presentation, we are leaving the comment period open for 2 weeks. So that will close on April 18th. But you're more than welcome to send us an email or leave us a voicemail. Again, if you do leave us a voicemail, if you could just reference the project number or bridge number, and one of our team members will be sure to get back to you. And again, if you can take a few minutes to take that voluntary post-meeting survey, we would greatly appreciate it. We do appreciate your time this evening learning about these projects. We have quite a bit going on at the Department of Transportation, looking forward to kind of improving our infrastructure in the next several years. So it'd be great to hear from you. And I'm just quickly checking to see, it doesn't look like we have any emails or voicemails that have come in. And we do have one comment that has come in from Ms. Harrison, and she just says, thank you for the presentation. It was very informative. We really appreciate that feedback. I will say a lot goes into these presentations. I know this team has been working really hard and we're looking forward to doing more of them in the future. So appreciate that feedback. And just going to give it one more minute. I want to make sure we give everyone adequate time to get in any questions here. But it looks like I don't think we have any more coming in. All right. So with that, we will close out this session. Again, you have 2 more weeks. If you think of anything, by all means, send us an email, drop us a voicemail, and we will keep you informed as this project or as these projects progress. And I think that's about it. So thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.